Have you ever wondered if there's an invisible line between what you desire and what you actually live? And what if I told you that you could cross that line with just 100 words, repeated in exactly the right way? This isn't magic, but a key which, when turned, restructures the reality around you. Imagine having the power to rewrite your life night after night, using only your own voice as the tool. Quantum physics already shows us that reality isn't solid. It's malleable, shaped by consciousness. And if there's a code capable of activating that potential, it's hidden where no one looks, in deep repetition, in genuine feeling, in unshakable certainty. Today, you'll understand why repeating a sentence 100 times can be the turning point of your life. Now, leave in the comments, "I trust the invisible because it's already real to me." Let's manifest a new reality together. Throughout history, few scholars dared to explore the boundaries between consciousness and reality as deeply as Neville Goddard and Jacobo Grinberg. Though they came from very different worlds, one a modern mystic, the other a mind scientist, they arrived at the same essential conclusion. The reality you live isn't fixed. It's malleable, and it responds directly to what you feel and believe on a deep level. Neville Goddard taught that feeling is the secret, and that whatever you hold with emotional conviction in your inner world will, sooner or later, reflect itself in the outer world. For him, repeating an emotionally charged sentence wasn't superstition, but a conscious creative process capable of moving the universe's invisible gears. Jacobo Grinberg, through his research into the neuronal field and the synergic theory, demonstrated that the human brain functions as an interface with a plastic reality, one where perception actually modifies the structure of what is perceived. In other words, by changing your mind's content, your beliefs, emotions, and patterns, you are literally reorganizing reality. The bridge between science and spirituality is complete, and the path? It begins with a sentence repeated 100 times. Imagine for a moment that everything you see, touch, and feel, the chair you're sitting on, the street outside, even your bank balance, isn't as solid as it seems. Science has already proven that at its most fundamental level, everything in the universe is vibrating energy, particles in constant motion. But there's something even more intriguing than that. These particles don't behave like matter until someone observes them. That's what the famous double-slit experiment reveals. Without observation, particles exist as waves, mere possibilities. But the moment they're observed, they collapse into a single point in space. In other words, the observer's consciousness determines matter's behavior. The universe doesn't respond to force, nor to empty desire. It responds to conscious, intentional attention. This phenomenon shook traditional science to its core. After all, if reality forms from conscious observation, then you're not just a spectator of life, you're a co-creator. With every sustained thought, with every feeling held, you interact with this field of possibilities. And that's where the true power behind manifestation begins. But if the quantum field responds to consciousness, why do so many people remain trapped in patterns of scarcity, sadness, or stagnation? Because although they're observing, they're not deliberately choosing what to observe. Most people live on autopilot, reinforcing what they don't want, unaware that by giving it focus, they continue to feed that very reality. Here's the inevitable question. Is there a way to tune into this quantum field with precision, clearly, vibrationally, so it reflects exactly what you want to experience? The answer is yes. And the key isn't effort, struggle, or complex techniques. It's one single sentence that, when repeated with the right feeling, aligns you with the universe's invisible structure. A sentence that activates gratitude, trust, and vibrational direction all at once. But we're not ready for it yet. First, we need to understand how your perception builds what you call reality. There's something unsettling about the way we construct what we call real. When Jacobo Grinberg began his investigations, he wasn't seeking spiritual answers. He wanted to understand how the mind interacts with the world. But the deeper he went, the more he realized that reality wasn't something external, fixed, and independent. What we experience is shaped by internal structures that filter, organize, and, above all, determine what manifests before us. Grinberg called this structure the neuronal field, a living, dynamic field that captures information from the so-called synergic field, a network of possibilities that, in theory, contains every potential event in the universe. In this context, perception isn't a window showing the world, it's a mechanism that edits it. What you perceive is what your mind has been trained to allow, and everything outside that pattern simply ceases to exist for you. This is why so many people remain trapped in repetitive cycles. The problem isn't the lack of opportunity, love, or abundance. It's that the conditioned mind ignores what doesn't align with the model it already accepts as real. The filter is so subtle, we don't even notice it's working. Grinberg suggested that by changing this internal field with intention and focus, you could access layers of reality previously invisible. This goes beyond positive thinking. It's about reprogramming the very matrix that defines what's possible for you. And yes, there is a way to do it. Science calls it neuroplasticity. The ancients called it prayer. Grinberg saw it as perceptual reorganization, but the principle is the same. A pattern repeated with enough intensity reconfigures the mental field, and with it, alters what manifests as experience. There's one sentence that encapsulates this principle. It has direction, emotion, and vibration. It's repeated like a code, and when applied correctly, it seems to tinker with reality's very fabric. But before revealing it, we must understand how the mind turns assumptions into certainties. There comes a point in the manifestation process when logic must quiet down. It's subtle. At first, the mind resists, questions, tries to convince you it's just self-deception. But as the information repeats, something gives way. What once felt like effort transforms into familiarity, and then into certainty. That's when reality begins to yield as well. Neville Goddard called this assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Jacobo Grinberg would describe it as reorganizing the perceptual mesh. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that there's a moment when repetition stops being a mental exercise and becomes a new code etched into the field that shapes your life. And that code, chosen consciously, must bring together three elements: gratitude, which anchors you in the now; trust, which silences doubt; direction, which sends a clear message to the energy field. This sentence isn't meant to be merely recited. It must be absorbed, felt, lived. And the sentence is this: with gratitude and trust, I accept that reality bends to manifest exactly what I've chosen to live. This is not a plea to the universe. It's not a request. It's a vibrational declaration. It affirms that you have already chosen, that reality isn't in control, you are. It removes fear by saying with gratitude and trust, and dissolves doubt by stating, I accept. The rest is pure energetic engineering. Reality bends to manifest exactly what I've chosen to live. Why 100 times? Because your mind isn't converted by theory, it's shaped by repetition. One declaration is a breeze, 100 form a current. With each repetition, you weaken the old field's resistance and strengthen the new reality's vibration. It's not magic, it's consistency. At that point, the sentence ceases to be a concept and becomes your identity. Now that you know the code, the question is, will you use it? The conscious mind can make decisions, but it's the subconscious that governs your life. It filters what you perceive, how you react, what you attract, what you avoid. It defines what seems possible, and even more importantly, what seems impossible. And here's the curious thing. It doesn't decide based on logic, but on repetition. Your subconscious doesn't argue. It records. It records what you think frequently, what you feel intensely, and what you repeat insistently. It's like fertile soil. It doesn't judge the seed, It simply transforms what it receives into visible reality. That's why repeating a sentence 100 times isn't overkill. It's intentional saturation. Each repetition is a drop hitting the same spot. At first, almost nothing changes, but with persistence, resistance gives way, and the new idea settles in as an internal truth. Neuroscience has already proven neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to form new connections through repeated stimuli. When you repeat an affirmation with focus and emotion, you are literally rewiring your nervous system. And the subconscious follows that new pathway as if it's been there for years. But there's a crucial detail. Repetition only works when accompanied by presence. Murmuring mechanically isn't enough. What transforms reality isn't just the word, it's the energy you invest in it. That's why, as you repeat, with gratitude and trust, I accept that reality bends to manifest exactly what I've chosen to live. You are instructing your subconscious precisely. You're saying, this is real for me now. And by doing it 100 times with intention, you're not trying to believe. You're creating the belief, reinforcing it, stabilizing it until it becomes undeniable. The most powerful moment in this process often comes when you feel like giving up. The rational mind begins to wander, to doubt. But if you persist, you break through that barrier. And it's there, after the discomfort, that the shift takes hold. This isn't magic, it's reconditioning. And the more you repeat, the more inevitable the result becomes. There will be a point when the mind has understood, the words have been spoken, but reality remains unchanged. That's where most people stop. What's missing? The answer lies in feeling. Science no longer treats emotion as something abstract. The field of electrophysiology shows that every feeling generates measurable electromagnetic fields, especially when activated by the heart. For example, the HeartMath Institute has demonstrated that states such as gratitude, trust, and love create cardiac coherence, a harmony between heart and brain that directly affects how the body interacts with its environment, including the quantum field. This means that when you feel gratitude and trust while repeating an affirmation, you're emitting a clear vibrational signature. And since everything in the universe is frequency, you attract what you emit. That's why repeating the sentence, with gratitude and trust, I accept that reality bends to manifest exactly what I've chosen to live, only reaches its full potential when you feel those words as truth. Not as a future desire, but as an active presence, as warmth in your chest, as relief that has already happened, as though you're recounting a memory, not describing an expectation. The brain alone doesn't manifest, it organizes. But embodiment, body, emotion, and consciousness vibrating in alignment, manifests. And the body doesn't respond to dry ideas, it responds to sensations. The more real the described experience feels, the faster it becomes your internal standard. That's why, during your 100 repetitions, you should let the feeling rise. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Feel what it would be like to awaken in that reality already manifested, and repeat the sentence as if you're living it right now. The universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to who you are, vibrationally. And when gratitude, trust, and certainty come together, you become a precise transmitter. Reality cannot ignore such a clear signal. Manifestation doesn't happen when you convince the world. It happens when you convince yourself. The human mind has a limited relationship with time. We measure everything in hours, days, weeks. We wait, we count, and often we give up because what we desire hasn't appeared. But true manifestation doesn't obey the clock. It responds to the intensity and persistence of the vibration. When Neville Goddard spoke of faith, he didn't mean blind belief. He meant loyalty to the unseen reality. He said that even when the senses deny, the mind must remain anchored in what has been assumed as true. Persistence here isn't stubborn insistence. It's emotional stability in the face of the invisible. Quantum physics proposes that time and space aren't absolutes, but dimensions relative to perception. The collapse of a reality, i.e., its manifestation, occurs when the emitted vibration reaches such a high point of coherence that the surrounding field can no longer sustain the previous version of reality, and at that moment, time folds. The improbable moves forward, the impossible realigns, but this only happens when you not only repeat the sentence, but remain true to it afterward. The most common mistake is seeking immediate signs, doubting at the slightest obstacle, tweaking the affirmation in search of faster results. Repetition is the hammer that shatters the old mold, but faith is the space that allows the new mold to solidify. And faith, in this case, is an internal attitude of certainty, even without evidence. When you say, "With gratitude and trust, I accept that reality bends to manifest exactly what I've chosen to live," and maintain that vibration over days, you align your frequency with a point beyond linear time. Manifestation begins as an invisible seed until suddenly it blooms before you. 7 days, 100 repetitions each night, not to test the universe, but to dissolve every doubt within you. And on the 8th day, you won't be waiting anymore. You'll be living. Reality bends when you stop watching the clock and start sustaining the vibration as though it's already yours. Now that you understand what lies behind true manifestation, not as a trick but as an alignment of mind, emotion and frequency, only one thing remains: action. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready, but today, tonight. Set aside a moment of silence, close your eyes and step into presence. Then begin the process. With an open heart and a steady mind, repeat the sentence 100 times. With gratitude and trust, I accept that reality bends to manifest exactly what I've chosen to live. I repeat with feeling, with direction, with the certainty that as you speak, the field around you is being reorganized. And if you can, commit to repeating it for 7 consecutive nights, not to test, but to create. And now I want to hear from you. Leave in the comments the sentence, "I trust the invisible," because it's already real to me, so your vibration can find its echo here. If this content touched you, subscribe to the channel, share this video with someone who needs to remember their power, and continue with us on this journey. Because manifestation isn't waiting, it's assuming, and it all begins the moment you decide to believe.